Before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know I am using Unreal version 4.19.2 and Visual Studio 2017. So without any further ado, let's get started. This is the pawn component with attachments. It's setting up, of course, to be able to do a little bit more with pawns, but this will help us create the foundation for the upcoming projects and additional assignments we're going to be doing. So, without any further ado, we're going to get started right off the bat by creating a new class. The class is going to be of pawn. Pawn collision is what we're going to be messing with, so we might as well name it that. We're going to let this build. There's a big shocker. In case you're wondering, the tutorials do not work based off of the information that they are written for version 4.9. It would be my only assumption, which, oddly enough, even if you go to where the original tutorial where this was based off of, even that one is outdated. So it took a little bit. I don't know if you guys have found these yet, but when we get to the code, there's a bunch of header files we must include in order to get this code to work. Also, in the meantime, I had created a new project. I started all over, so this one's called Game 312. And I did not have the original starter pack in here, so we're going to do that now. So in case you don't know, you can go to Add New, Add Feature Content Pack, go to your Content Pack tab, and just click the Starter Content, Add to Project. And that'll give me all of the things that we needed. There they start loading in. Specifically, what we're going to need for this tutorial is the spear. So it'd be in shapes and spear. Now there is a trick. There's going to be a lot of typing in the code to include an address for where to find this file. So if you right click it and you go to copy reference, it'll actually copy that file path to the clipboard for you. We can use it later on. But more importantly, it does have some extra stuff attached to that. You just delete it, and we'll go over that shortly. Coming back to the code, we're going to go ahead and start right off with the includes that are needed. They're going to need the spear component. There's going to be a couple other components we need as well. Maybe not so much right off, but we might need them. No, we'll need all these ones right off the bat. So static mesh component. And input component. No, this is the one that we're not going to need here, but we will need it soon. I promise. And then one more. Constructor helper. Okay. So it is important to note you do need all of these headers. Okay. So from here, everything we're going to do in this tutorial is actually in the constructor. I'm going to do this in sections. In this first section, we're going to actually create the spear and make it the root component. All right. So essentially, there's 4 lines of code. Use spear component. We're going to create an instance of it called spear component. Creating a sub-object, of course. All right, so root component here is now going to be equal to what we just declared there. And now we're going to define its size. Sticking on line with this, that would be what is required. If you want some fun, play with that number and the other one that's coming up. I set it to a multiplier of like 100. It was kind of fun. Profile name. Okay, so that's the initial component that we're creating. Okay, so now this is the confusion part. We're going to create the mesh. And in order to do that, we got to grab some stuff. And that's the other tricky part. We're going to center this right in the sphere. So we're going to start by using that static mesh header that we put in there. Creating another default object, a useStaticMesh component. Okay, so now lowercase s, do not get that confused. And this is going to be our constructor helper. Find object, and what we're going to have it find is a useStaticMesh. We're going to call it sphere visual asset. And this is the tricky part. So this is what it's going to actually try to find. And remember, I copied that address. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here typing a/game, spell it correctly, and all that. But if you, oh, I got rid of it. That's right. Let's go back and just recopy it again. Copy reference. Come back here and paste it in. It gave me some extra stuff. It gave me a static mesh and the single quote and the single quote at the end. But that is the address that you need. Okay. So then we can come down here and we're going to do an if statement and check and see if it was able to find it. If it finds it, first thing we're going to do is set a static mesh. And we're going to set this to sphere visual dot object. We're going to have two more of these. Set relative location. And this is going to be f vector. And this is what's going to position it perfectly within the sphere that they've created. Otherwise, it creates it kind of on top. Or is it on bottom? I can't remember. So we got to do this little offset either way. And again, you can play with this little thing and you can see them go separating. So, okay, there's that. And then, of course, the last one is the default scale of the ball that we're pulling in is a little bit bigger as well. So we're going to bring the scale down. So set world scale 3D. It's an F vector. And the scale needs to be 80%. Okay. Now, There's one more piece of code for this tutorial. I'll type it in, but I'm not going to, I'm going to comment it out first, and we're going to run it 2 different ways, once with it on, once with it off. This is how I was able to get a screenshot of the ball, because with this line of code, what happens is once you put it in, you will become the ball when you start. So I'm going to comment it out for now. We'll try building it. I haven't done this at all, so we'll see if I have any errors. Nope. Okay, so, let me go ahead and go to my class. This is the pawn I created. If I drag it out, see, the ball's way over there. Okay, so I did something wrong. And normally this is a different... It looks differently normally. You know what, this is actually maybe good. Maybe me finding this error will help. So typically the easiest way is to close this out. And then in here, hit Control F5. It built it fine, like we saw. But if I do this, sometimes it'll pop up an error, which it didn't. Okay. So that's how I know it's something I did. And we know it's getting into here because we're actually seeing the ball, but the offset is off. But this is exactly how it's supposed to be coded. Okay, so I looked at my notes and I found the error. I somehow overlooked my entire line of code here, where I set up the attachment to the root component. So now, if I compile, it should attach both of the items together. Yep, see, that's what I was looking for. So now, there's my ball. I can still walk around. There's my ball. Right? So, what I wanted to show, if I now uncomment this, I did one other setting that I need to undo in order for this to work. So in my settings, I can come to Maps and Game Mode, come down here to the default pawn, put that to none. Because right now this is creating me that whole character for me. So if I take that out and then I push play, you gotta take it out, put it back in once you compile, and there you go. Alright, so there it is. So now I'm the ball. So that's that. That's the tutorial for the week. Hope it helps.